So this is the roadmap. It's a step-by-step guide to social media success. Everybody loves going on vacation, but when you want to go somewhere that looks like this, and you end up somewhere like that, you realize you have a big problem and an unhappy fiance. So, most often, you'll sit down, plot out a map, figure out where you're trying to get to, and draw backwards back to your house. Or, if you're like me, you wake up the morning of, you type in where you want to go, and your phone tells you. Marketing is the exact same. If you shoot out without knowing where your end destination is, you never know if you hit your goals. You never know if what you're doing works. So just like a vacation, your marketing should be similar. Think about the goals and work backwards from that. So when we talk about the roadmap, we really want to start at the finish line. So we want to think about, if we're going on a vacation, where do we want to get to, and then how can we get there? What strategies are we going to use to get to that end destination, and then what tactics are we going to use to fulfill those strategies? I'm going to go through all of those for you. I do also want to mention, if at any point you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. I know I have an hour of time. The presentation should last about 45 minutes, but if we need to cut a little bit, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I'll also be floating around afterwards and all day tomorrow too. So step one in defining that success strategy is defining SMART goals. When I talk about SMART goals, I mean a goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. A goal of, we want more applications, is really just a hope. Where that becomes a goal is, if it's specific, we want more welding applications. If it's measurable, we want 20 more welding applications. If it's achievable, can your company actually get that and make those applications come in? Is it realistic? If you were to get 20 applications, could you fill and place those candidates into open positions? And that is a time bound. I want 20 welding applications by the end of October. That's a SMART goal. That's transforming I want more applications to a definitive goal that at the end of October, we can say, hey, we hit this, we surpassed it, or we got to change something up. I personally love when things go wrong because it tells me that we need to go back to the drawing board and pivot. Step two in the ultimate success roadmap would be to conceptualize your strategy. I'm going to go through a ton of strategies on how to drive and reach specific staffing related goals, but ultimately we want to know what sort of boat is going to drive us towards success. What sort of, road would rather get us there. So if you think about driving again on a vacation, the goal is your destination. Maybe it's, Florida, right? The strategy would be, okay, we're going to take a road. The tactic would be, we're going to get in my car, take that road, and get to the destination. So conceptualizing your strategy. And then you need to outline your tactics. Tactics is where it gets really fun for me. So we have a goal, we know the strategy that we're going to implement to get there. Now we can experiment. When it comes to social media, when Stephanie asked me to come back out this year, I was excited because the presentation that I gave last year is no longer valid this year. The tactics that I presented are outdated, and if I gave them to you, I'd feel bad about it because they're no longer going to work. What's awesome about social media is if you're in those trenches, you're looking at different platforms, you're looking at different tools, you can constantly pivot, try new things, and see what works. So this is the roadmap. Again, just moving forward here. This is Jay Baer. He's the founder of Convince and Convert. He said the goal is not to be good at social media. The goal is to be good at business because of social media. This is important. We work with about 65 different staffing companies now doing social media marketing solutions for them, providing social media marketing solutions for them. We also work with about 250 different companies who we're providing different content solutions for. Time and time again, the goals that I hear from clients or prospects are very social media specific goals. Brad, I want 100 followers on Facebook. I want 100 more followers by the end of October on Facebook to make that a SMART goal. That has nothing to do with business, that's a tactic. The goal is not to be good at social media. The goal is to be good at business and use social media as a tool to get you there. Just like you would use an ATS to drive more applications and gather those applications rather, and sort all that information out, it's a tool that justifies the end of the means there. While I say that, I think to be really good at social media, you also need to know how to use the tools. You can understand what a wrench is, but that doesn't make you a great plumber. In the same respect, you can know how to log into Facebook, but that's not going to make you great at Facebook for business. You need to understand the tool, have a good foundation, but then ultimately know how that's going to generate ROI. How the Facebook posts that you make twice a day about your team builders, the content you're sharing, the job fairs you're going to, the available job opportunities that you have, while it looks pretty on your page, and when you get likes, it has a really good feel-good stimulus. Everybody likes to see that. What is it going to generate for you in the long run? Again, the goal is not to be good at social media. The goal is to be good at business because of social media. The two goals of every staffing agency. Anybody know what I'm going to say?
Success.
Success is a good one.
Build staff people. Build jobs.
Applications, job orders. Need applications, need job orders. So the whole premise of this presentation moving forward is going to be how to build strategies that support these goals, and then ultimately the tactics that can get us there. So what drives applications? Job board visits, form submissions, telephone calls to your office directly. Maybe it's an email directly to one of your recruiters. Maybe it's a website visit. Becoming an employer of choice. Tough to quantify, but we can do it. Establishing a referral program, attracting new candidates, passive candidates, reactivating past candidates, and showcasing your brand identity. Again, a little tough to quantify, but if you put a measurable number to that goal, we can get there. What drives job orders? Similarly, contact form submissions, telephone calls, one-to-one with hiring managers, website visits, becoming a trusted resource in your specific market. Establishing credibility, becoming a thought leader, reactivating past clients, activating new clients, and then creating brand awareness. Again, these strategies might not seem like smart goals, but if you sit down and you quantify them with what you feel is realistic within your staffing firm, within your company, your organization, that makes these strategies reach the end goal of your applications and your job orders. Right? So we're starting at the end. We need more jobs. We need more applications. This is the boat that's going to get us there. So the tactics, these are fun. If at any point anybody's trying any of these tactics, I'd love to talk about it. If you've tried something out and it doesn't work, let's talk about that too. A lot of these tactics that I'm going to present, we've seen some really good success from some of them, and some of them we've pivoted and changed. I wanted to present everything because what might work for one office in Chicago might not necessarily work here in Denver. So let's try something different. Generating more applications. Job board visits from Twitter. Who is active on Twitter twice a week? Couple? 3? Cool. Twitter is a conversation. Twitter can be somewhere that you drop link after link, blog post after blog post. If we want to get people back to a job board, I would heavily encourage hashtags, joining the conversation, maybe looking at a Twitter chat, looking at who is already talking about needing a job in your specific area. These graphics here all go back to a client-specific job board on their website. So they have branded images, they look great, they have logos, they include hashtags, they include a link back to that job board. So that if anybody sees it, they can apply very easily from their mobile device. Another tip on Twitter that I didn't include in the presentation, under the advanced search functionality, I'd be happy to show you how to do it afterwards. If you go into the search bar in the top right, you can type in something like job. Then in advanced search, you can ping your location. Now you're looking at any Twitter account that has mentioned the word job in Denver. If somebody's talking about job or how they hate their job or how they need a job, that sounds like somebody to reach out to. And throw them one of these. Job board visits from Facebook. Similar to Twitter, but you have a little bit more room for copy. So Twitter just rolled out 280 characters, meaning including words, spaces, periods. You have to be limited to 280 characters. Facebook, you have more room, multiple sentences if you want. You could also include calls to action like tap to apply, click to apply. Again though, what's important is this branding. Another thing that's very important with Facebook is Facebook jobs. Anybody familiar with Facebook jobs? Couple? So Facebook, let's say 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, rolled out their own job board. So now, if you go into your company Facebook page and where it says write a status, write an update, if you click that, you have the opportunity to create a job listing. That's where, this one in the middle here, need a job. That's a Facebook job listing. You can put in the title, you put in your location, you put in the compensation, you put in details. That applicant can now see that on your Facebook page. It's served through Facebook, so it can just show up organically. It also shows up on Facebook's job board. What's good about that is a candidate can click apply now, and in 2 clicks of a button, they have now applied and created what we consider leads for a staffing firm to reach out to them. So it's not a true application. It won't go into your ATS. It'll live in Facebook messages. But somebody has exhibited interest in that position. Now you can reach out to them one-to-one and say, hey, take the next step. Give us a call. Come on in next Tuesday. Let's talk. It's a good way to start that conversation and get the ball rolling. It's also great brand awareness. I also just heard on the way here today that there was a conference in Denver. Wish I would have flown in yesterday for it. But Google and Facebook announced a partnership where Google and Facebook, I believe Facebook released their API to Google so that Google Jobs is now going to pull in Facebook Jobs right on Google. So those are going to start getting indexed in Google search. Form submissions. On your website, if you don't have a clear funnel for an applicant to go through, you're really cutting yourself short. So what we need to do is think about the user's path. If somebody comes to a piece of blog content, what is the next path that I want them to take? If it's a piece of candidate-focused content, I want them to apply for a job. I want them to either skip the search and submit their resume, or I want them to browse available opportunities, or as a third option, I want them to contact us. I first want them to either give me their resume, or I want them to apply for a job. Third, give me a call, that's fine. But I really like positioning the top two. When you think about a website, and I know last year I really talked at CSA about websites and how you should make your website work for you. And Stephanie, I can make that presentation available. We do still have that recorded if anybody wants to see that one as well. Thinking about how your website funnels traffic once somebody comes from social media is a huge step in the process. Because ultimately, if we have a drop-off, we're never going to get to our goals. If we want more applications, and the solution is, okay, we're going to run more blog content, we're going to post once a day, but there's never any CTA that says apply for a job, we're not going to reach that goal. Sure, we might increase blog readers and people are going to read articles, but if that's not the goal, it doesn't really matter. Again, blogging for placements. Positioning content as a way to get people into your website so that you can funnel them to a conversion. We can funnel them to an application. We can funnel them to a submit a resume form. This is just how I would position them on social media and how Haley Marketing Group really positions blog content on social media. Every blog should have a featured image. If you're creating blog content, there are free sources that you can go to like Pexels, Pablo, or if you're looking for really high quality, high resolution imagery, you can go to Adobe Stock and buy a subscription to that. I personally think the free images work great, but if you're looking for a really hard to find image like a plumber that can't fix a leak, you gotta go to Adobe Stock. Emails and phone calls. So again, how can we get more applications? On my right, we have calls to action at the bottom of blog posts. So the CTA is very obvious. If you're interested, contact Nancy, and here's how you can call her, or shoot her an email. That's a mail to link that would go directly to her inbox. Or if you're on Facebook, you can set up one of your buttons and have that just call right directly to your office. You can cycle through that. There's a contact us, there's message us, there's call now. You can just direct it back to a services page or part of your website, wherever you want to go to. But if phone calls, maybe that's one of the SMART goals that we want to quantify. We want to have 50 more inbound calls from applicants that we don't have in our system. So we're going to track all the data that comes in, we're going to write down everybody's name, and at the end of October, if they're not in our database, we win. If not, then we have to pivot. If that's a main goal though, and a SMART goal, then that's what I would do. I would put that call now button, because if anybody comes to your Facebook page, that's what they're going to see. Website traffic from social media. Social media is a conversation. right? You're on Facebook because you're looking at family, friends, maybe you're dishing out Candy Crush invites and you need some lives. I get that too. But social media from a business's perspective is to get people off of social media as quickly as possible. When I put together a social media strategy, I want to get a candidate or a client, in this portion of the presentation, a candidate, off of Facebook as quickly as possible. Why? Because if I don't, they're going to go to somebody else. They're going to find content, they're going to find information somewhere else. I want them to know that we're a thought leader, sorry, I apologize. We're trustworthy, and you can get a great opportunity through blank. What we want to see month after month, and this is something that we quantify, this is one of our SMART goals, we want to see growth from social media on a consistent basis. So we look quarterly. I want to know that more traffic is coming from Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Instagram if we have a client that's using it, Snapchat we don't really do a whole lot with. It's kind of still out there, but is what it is. But we want to quantify how much traffic's coming in. We also want to take the next step and see what of that traffic is converting. So using advanced segments in Google Analytics, that's what this dashboard is right here. It's Google Analytics. If you don't have that installed on your website, I'd love to chat about that as well. It's basically a free tool that will allow you to count the number of people that look at specific pages on your website. Without having analytics and data, you have no idea what's working. So we want to know, this is just looking at what we consider social pro traffic. So anybody from Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We're looking at, in this respect, I went January to August, and I wanted to see what happened. Becoming an employer of choice through social media. Client that we work with out of Lehigh Valley, their goal for the year was to become an employer of choice. And it was super hard to quantify for us, but I think we got there. Ultimately, what we set out to do was build more Facebook reviews. And when I say more, I know that we're supposed to quantify that, but they had a really negative score. So we wanted to increase their score from where it was at a 4.2. We wanted to increase that. I'm sorry, that was at 3.8. It went to 4.2. We wanted to increase reviews. We wanted to increase traffic to blog articles. And then we wanted to increase traffic to available jobs. The strategy that we put into place before us, the client was driving everybody straight to TempWorks. So they were driving them to jobs on their job board. Any TempWorks reps or anything, I apologize, but our strategy was to take that job board, have it feed into the client's website itself, and drive people back to the jobs on their website. By doing so, we were able to funnel people back to the site. We can track it, we can understand exactly what's going on, and I control the message there. If you're driving people back to Monster, if you're driving people back to Indeed, any of those large aggregators, you're getting lost in the noise. And I say that respectfully because I respect those companies, but by driving somebody, let's say you're looking for a welder, right? If I'm a welder and I'm looking for a job and I go on Indeed, I'm gonna look at 25, maybe 50 opportunities until I find one that I apply for, one that has the best salary, the best description, looks good, feels right. Finally, I apply. If instead I drive that traffic back to my website, I might have 15 welding opportunities right on my job board. Now that person is applying for 15 opportunities through you. It's flipping that thought process and driving it back to your website and your homeland so that you can control the messaging and really determine the results from that. Attracting new candidates. So how can we attract new candidates on LinkedIn? This is a tip that I've used for the past year. It's how I've gotten just under 8,000 LinkedIn connections in that year. What you can do in LinkedIn search. So at the top of the page, I don't have a pointer on this, I apologize, but on the top, in search, type in any position that you might basically be hiring. So I use the example of welder. If you're looking for a welder, maybe they're not on LinkedIn, so maybe it's IT consultant, or maybe it's manager, HR manager, right? Type that in, type a space, and then type whatever city you're looking for people that do that role. What you're then gonna do at the top here, we're gonna click on secondary connections. So we don't care about who's already connected with you because you already know them. Secondary connections are somebody that they are connected to through you. So if I'm connected to you here in the front, but not you, sir, what's gonna happen is you are now secondary connection of, it's routed all that way. So if you type in the job you're trying to fill, you type in the location, now you have a whole database of people that can do that role in your specific market. Reach out and connect with them. I do that to 50 people a day. I've gotten just under 8,000 connections in a year. No throwback from LinkedIn. What happens now, though, is my profile is also an asset for Haley Marketing Group. When we publish blog content, there's more reach, there's more engagement, there's more visibility when I share content than when it comes out of the company page, because more people are listening now. We have a bigger area, a bigger net to broadcast that message to. Another tip out of that, once you have a large database of connections, you can export that data. So if you have an email marketing list, you can export that and send them marketing. You can send them emails. The next tip would be for attracting new candidates on Twitter. You can do the same thing. So instead of looking for a specific job title and a location, I would search for a location. This example, I used Cherry Creek, and it returned, let's say, 6 at the top of basically recreation football teams. Looks like a lacrosse team, looks like an arts, and it looks like a school. What's great about that is everybody that is following those pages are from Cherry Creek. Nobody is going to follow a Cherry Creek Little Loop football team if they're from Buffalo, New York. What I would do is I would go through from my company Twitter profile, and I would follow 20 people a day. Twitter will lock that down, unlike LinkedIn, where you can connect with 50 or so people and have no pushback. Twitter will lock your account, so I would stick to 20. But go and see who's following those pages and follow them. Twitter is very conversational, very one-to-one. You follow somebody, the likelihood of them following you back is high. So it's a good way to grow those followers. Last example is Facebook. If you're not organically growing Facebook likes by publishing great content, start a like campaign. Pay a little bit of money every single week, every single month, and create a like campaign. When I say a like campaign, I mean advertising through Facebook. You can update, you can upload rather your ATS list. So export your ATS list from whatever provider you're using, get all the emails, upload that into Facebook. What Facebook's going to do then is match that email with any email that they might possibly have in Facebook. So if BMB at Haley Marketing Group is on your ATS list, and BMB at Haley Marketing Group has a Facebook page, that account will now see ads. What I would do is advertise your staffing firm, advertise your services, advertise your jobs. We're going to get into remarketing and retargeting, but create a like campaign and grow some buzz that way. Activating passive candidates through Facebook. Again, just to take a step back, these tactics are all in line with certain strategies, and the strategies are all in line with the goal of driving more applications. So I don't want to be overwhelming in the least bit by throwing out a lot of different tactics, but the truth is no one is going to do all of these. I want you to leave with 2, maybe 3 that you can leave with, maybe even when we walk out of this room or while you're sitting here at the table. You can connect with people on LinkedIn right now. I actually love to do it on mobile because it's so much easier. This is called remarketing. Remarketing, has anybody been on Amazon in the last 6 months and looked at a product? That product follow you on Facebook afterwards? Yeah. Right, so that's called remarketing. I call them tracker ads. Tracker ads, they follow you everywhere, right? We can do that with jobs. If a job is on your website, you could put remarketing code on that page. So now when a candidate goes to Facebook, they see ads for your company telling them to apply for a job. What our data showed when we looked at it last year is that a returning visitor is 2 times as likely to apply for a job. So instead of seeking new candidates and new leads, let's work with the ones we're already getting. If we're already driving people back to our website through all of the other tactics that we've talked about before, now let's retarget them, get them in the funnel, and bring them back to the site. Tracker ads. Terrifying, but they're out there. Reactivating past candidates through email marketing. So if you have an ATS list, that means you also have an email list. If you have an email list, you can email those people. As long as you have implicit permission to speak to somebody, you can send them an email. That's how you get around spam filters. So if you talked to somebody in the past, you've done business with somebody in the past, it's a candidate you've placed before, you've talked to them, you have sort of that gray area implicit permission to mail to them. A very secure permission-based list would be, hi, I'm Brad, can I send you an email? If you say yes, then you're on a permission-based list. There are companies that will only mail permission-based lists. There are companies that will mail implicit lists. We will not touch a purchase list. If somebody tries to sell you a list, run away as fast as possible. Unless it's through a reputable company, you can look at the names on there. I don't trust them, we don't trust them. There's a lot of other ways to generate leads and emails through the steps that we talked about, lead generation, form submissions, just general applications. If somebody comes in your office, say, hey, can I add you to my email list? But what we're talking about here is reactivating past candidates. So if somebody was working for you 6 months ago, but they're no longer on assignment, shoot them an email. Say, hey, we have these 6 hot jobs this month. We think you'd be great for it. Phrase it so that it's very specific for the person reading it, not we're looking for 15 people for an available position. Make me feel special. So if you're sending an email to somebody, make it feel like it's just for them. That's what Nike does, that's what Under Armour does. It makes you feel like you're the only person receiving that deal. Another way that you can really spark some interest is put a timer or a ticker at the top and say, we're hiring and maybe it's a higher pay rate for the next 30 minutes or something, and just to generate more interest in a short term. I'm not saying jack the prices up by dollars, but get creative. Showcasing brand identity. Hard to quantify, but there is a place for it on social media. So social media is about the conversation. It's about who you are. At Haley Marketing Group, we use our Instagram account only for what our company is doing. For the 3 days that I'm out here, I'm taking over our Instagram story, documenting the trip, documenting content, basically talking about what happened from when I left to when I come back home. I'm sure you all make it. But really what we want to do is showcase the page. We want to showcase the company. We want to tell people who we are. So when somebody walks in and they want to talk to Brad about an available job opportunity, they know who I am, they know what I do, and they feel a personal connection already. It's another great reason to reach out to people on LinkedIn and connect with them, because then they have a face to the name and they feel more comfortable when they walk into your office. So this is a couple client examples. We have somebody that says, I got my job at, and then their company name, so whenever they place somebody, they take a picture and they post it on Facebook. Those get a lot of really good engagement because that person will share it, will retweet it, and their family kind of spirals from there. Staffers in my top left was showcasing somebody that went temp to perm. They give them a prize, a present every time that happens, a little swag bag from staffers. Professional staffing, they're in the South and love high school football, so they position that way. And then again, just showcasing the team. At Haley, we do what are called hits, hobbies, interests, and talents. And every week, we're publishing a new blog post about somebody from our team. Super easy, we just created a survey, said fill out these 3 questions, then we published it. But as we share that content, it builds more personal brand awareness. People are more comfortable to work with our team because they know who we are. We can forward that to different clients, new prospects, new clients. It's a really great way to generate some brand identity. Anybody want to talk about applications before we get to job orders? So I know there was a lot in there. If not, we can bounce right into job orders.
I had one question.
Sure.
I wanted to just go back to when you said you can export the marketing base from LinkedIn.
Correct.
How do you do that?
It's in the settings tab.
Okay.
The exact 3 steps, I'm not going to know offhand.
Okay.
I did it yesterday, but I'd love to show you on either the laptop or somewhere before the conference is over. So it's definitely in settings, and then you export your profile archive. And within that zip folder, you get your connections, you get anybody that's given you a recommendation. It's a pretty large file, but within that is one file that says connections. And it gives you name, email, where they work, I believe when you started being connected with them. I love it. Yeah, it's a really good hidden feature on LinkedIn. I believe it's called Profile Archive, and it's in the settings tab. You can definitely, what I'll do is I'll bring down my laptop tomorrow. If you want to just stop by, we'll talk about it. I'll show you.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Question?
Sure.
If you have like 15 recruiters,
Sure.
do you want to have one LinkedIn account and one Facebook account, or should each staff member be managing their own LinkedIn account and Facebook account?
I would do one company page, and then I would have personal pages for your whole team. So
Underneath the company or in line with their personal Facebook account?
personal pages. Not specifically company pages, it would be a personal profile is the proper way to say it. So you would have, what's your company name?
Real estate personnel?
Real estate personnel?
Right.
So you have that on Facebook and that on LinkedIn.
Right.
Then you would have personal profiles that are just on those platforms as well.
Right.
So Any content that
When Wes wants to do his LinkedIn activity,
Yep.
he would go into the company LinkedIn page, not his own LinkedIn.
he would go into his personal page to do that. You're growing personal branding through that, and then you're sharing company messaging through that personal account. So you're growing Brad Biley, right, my own personal profile. I'm posting Haley marketing content, or I'm posting available job opportunities from your company website through my personal app.
It seems like a little additional activity for everybody to have to handle.
Yes.
It seems to me it would be easier for it to be on one page.
So
for the whole
here's
company.
the way that I often refer to it. Social media is kind of a workout program. If you start at Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 5 minutes a day, it kind of hurts every time you have to do it. But as you start to see results, it gets a little bit easier. So if your team comes in the morning, they make a pot of coffee, a cup of coffee, go in and connect with 20 people, or right before they leave the office, connect with 20, 30 people. It's a minor task in the great scheme of amplification of content. So if your company page, let's say, has 100 connections, but everybody at your table has 100 connections and you're all sharing the same piece of content, now we're reaching 700 people instead of just 100. So we're amplifying that through a megaphone instead of just broadcasting it through one line of content. Make sense?
And can I just ask,
Sure.
on top of that, so when Dan shares an article on LinkedIn,
Yep.
and then I go in and like it and share it,
Yep.
then I share it, it goes out to all of my LinkedIn people.
Correct.
And that's what you're talking about, is how to do that.
That's the smart
Okay.
way. Yep.
Okay.
If I were doing that, the exact step that I would take is I would first publish that on your company page,
Right.
and then I would share from there.
Yep.
Because as your LinkedIn connections now start to see it, they're seeing that original branding back to the company page. So it's always going back there.
Got it, yep, that's what I did, okay.
Got it. Awesome. Anything else? All right, let's talk about job openings. Similar, leading more candidates, landing more candidates, could do the same through a contact form submission on your website, but drive more clients. So if we're blogging and we're creating 4 posts a month, maybe we position 2 towards candidates, how to land a job, find a job, how to create a better resume, how to clean up your personal branding. But then we talk about client-related content. Maybe it's OSHA-specific topics. Maybe it's how to hire faster, how to hire smarter, how to create, or how to minimize inefficiencies, right? We then pivot our sidebars. So one thing that you can do on your website is create different sidebars for different specific content. So if a candidate lands on a candidate-specific article, they're getting a sidebar, if you remember from before, that said submit your resume, apply for a job, or contact us. Client-related content, however, is going to request an employee or subscribe to our email list. So a client that comes in, or a potential client, or a hiring manager, or somebody in the HR field, that sees this content, they're getting funneled down a different path than a candidate would. It's very strategic funneling. And what we're doing here is also putting on what's called UTM parameters, a little bit advanced. But in Google Analytics, we can add to a URL so that we know how many times that button's getting clicked. So if a client comes to us and says, hey Brad, I really want, say, 10 more clients to reach out, or prospects to reach out about potential services or working with us in the month of October. I can come back and say, okay, well, 15 people clicked this button that said request an employee, or let's say 20, make it easier. And of that, 5 completed the form. So we got halfway there just through this sidebar. What else happened in October? You know, we did this, what else happened? What other initiatives went into play there? Also, a CTA banner at the bottom of your blog post is one of the easiest ways to drive people. If you think about how you read an article, you get to the bottom, people need to know what to do next. Otherwise, they're going to go back to Facebook, back to Twitter. They're going to just go back on their way of doing what they were doing already. We need to tell them what to do. That's where the CTAs come into play. One-on-one contact with hiring managers. So similarly, where we were mailing out content directly to candidates, we can do that on the client side. We can say, this one was just National Golfing Month. We just reached out and said, do you want to find a hole-in-one candidate? This middle one was, we know your team is missing an essential member. Every task seems more difficult. And the CTA there is to contact us if the tasks seem too difficult. You need to hire more people. You can also publish content on LinkedIn through what's considered LinkedIn Pulse. So if you go into your LinkedIn profile, at the very top of your page, you click in where you would post a status update, you can click on write an article, and then you can basically blog on LinkedIn. If you're creating blog content and you're publishing it on your company website, that's step one. Step two is to wait a week and now run it on LinkedIn through a personal channel. What I wouldn't do is run that through every single person in your company, but maybe it's a CEO. Maybe it's somebody that wants to position themselves as a thought leader in your organization and already shows initiative. Maybe your team blogs on their own, like we do. We at Haley Marketing Group, everybody is expected to write, not expected, is suggested, encouraged to write a blog post once a month. So I'll publish my content on LinkedIn Pulse. I wouldn't publish Matt's or Brian's. I'm gonna run my content. What happens here, as you run that content, doesn't happen every time, but your audience and your network will get a notification that you published an article on LinkedIn. I know it definitely happens the first time. I've seen it happen sporadically, which is really tough when you try to do social media marketing to know or identify why it happened once. Do you know why?
No, I was just curious what your thoughts are when you export LinkedIn and then you do a newsletter. Do you think most people, is it a positive? I just did it in 1400, just as a tester.
Sure.
About 21 said they did not subscribe to the email.
Okay.
But I have like, within 24 hours, about 21 clicks.
Okay.
Is that overall, it was a test.
Okay.
Just to see, because, LinkedIn, you can go to two sides of one, applicants or.
Okay, data. So
Data.
1,400 people you sent to,
1,400.
21 wanted to opt out, so just over, let's say just under 2%.
Right.
Or just over 2%.
And then I received, I guess it was over 20 clicks.
Okay. 20 clicks on the email itself.
What, on the email itself.
Okay.
So, but still, I'm a little bit feeling, I don't know if I should have done that or not, because, the minute you turn someone off, now you've lost them. So I think it's just important, when you're doing your social media,
Yep.
that you don't want to turn off an audience because you did the wrong thing.
Sure. First
So I
off,
just wanted your opinion.
my 2% number was off. That math was faulty. Tried to do that on the fly. Had to carry the zero there.
But it's like 21 people.
Okay.
Only like 486 have opened it so far. It takes a while, right?
See, that's a different number. So now you're talking almost
Look
a
at
third.
constant contacts.
Okay. So almost a third of your audience opened the email.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a different set than clicks. So in terms of open the email, to get somebody's attention in email is extremely difficult. I say that as an organization that does email marketing. To get somebody's attention, you're talking subject lines, when you mailed, how you mailed it, did you use an emoji in the subject line, did you mail on a Monday, on a Wednesday? We test a lot of different variables, and there's really not a sweet spot to email marketing. What I have seen in the past 2 months is mailing on Sunday night has worked really, really well. Both client and candidate mailings, very well. Pro tip, now that day's gonna shift now because everyone's gonna mail on Sundays. But I would try it again. So if you said you mailed to 1,400 people, 400 opened it, I like that number. What I would challenge you to do is look at what your offering was on the inside of that mailing, because if only 20 people click something out of 400, they might not have been enticed enough to take the next step. So either if you were advertising an available position, maybe it wasn't the right position for them. If it was just to go back to a blog article, maybe that didn't resonate with them. What was the actual offering?
It was actually more random, five reasons to hire temporary employees.
Okay. Your LinkedIn list might not be people that are making hiring decisions.
That's true. I mean, it was an indirect marketing tool.
Right.
But on the other hand, most of the people do work for companies on the small, I'm in a small valley that most
Sure.
people ask. It's not all HR departments.
Sure.
So I just kind of was curious to see, if it was a turn on or turn off.
Could do one of two things, really, as my recommendation. I would either mail again this month, or depending on when you mailed, give it a little bit of time to mail again. Just going to sleep. To the same list, try a different time or a different day, or only mail to the people that opened, and mail them soon. So if somebody opened your mailing, it shows that they already know who you are, they trust you. I would mail to them maybe next week.
And what about all those other people you would not do that again? If they didn't opt out.
If they didn't opt out, they may not have seen it. It could have gone to a spam filter. If it was a Yahoo mail, the likelihood of that's probably pretty high. If they work at certain organizations, a spam filter could cut that before it even gets to their inbox.
Right.
One thing that you could do if you're talking to somebody, so say you mailed to me, right? Hey Brian, did you get my email last week about XYZ, 5 reasons to hire smarter, I believe you said?
5 reasons to hire temporary employees.
Temporary employees, okay. So 5 reasons to hire temporary employees. Did you get that email or not? If I were to say no, then you could say, okay, well, can you whitelist our emails so that you get future emails, because you're probably missing out on a lot of things that I'm trying to send your way. And it could just be, hey, how's it going? I would start with mailing to the 400 first, and then once you have that segmented out, mail to the other 1,000, different messaging.
Okay.
Yeah. Blogging for job orders. Related to what we said a couple slides ago about contact form submissions, thinking about the content that you create doesn't have to just be for candidates, it can be for clients and prospects as well. So think about what a hiring manager might want more information on and be the resource that they're looking for. Because if they're not coming to you for the answer to that question, they're going somewhere else. One thing that I love to do when putting together a content strategy is looking at a site called Quora, Quora, and looking at HR, management, looking at hiring, and then look at all the questions that people have asked before and answer those on your blog. So you already know that people are asking that question. You could even say right at the very top of the article, I was hoping this is going to be an example one, right at the top of the article say, question originally appeared on Quora, and link that back to it, and then say, here's our take on it. It's a great way to generate some lead or some thought process behind what sort of content to create. Becoming a trusted resource. On Facebook, you can verify your Facebook page, your company page. I would highly recommend you do this. If you haven't already, you can go into the Settings tab. Under General, there'll be a page that says Verify Account. You'll click on that. What will happen is Facebook will call your office, the number that you have associated with your Facebook page. They will not physically call you because it's automated, but they'll call you and they'll give you a 5-digit access code. Write down that code, you type it into Facebook, now your page is verified. A lot of people are worried about SEO, search engine optimization. What they overlook is that that doesn't just mean Google, Bing, and Yahoo. That also means Facebook. If people are looking for staffing firms in Denver, verified pages, pages that have higher 5-star ratings or closer to a 5-star rating, more ratings, those pages show up first. So what you should be trying to do is not only verify your page because it's a 3-step process, but also try to obtain more 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews are a lot easier to get than people think. All you have to do is ask. People are very likely to leave feedback and give you a testimonial, but not many people ask for it. So if you have a candidate who loves their job, shoot them a quick email and say, hey, can you go to our Facebook page, give them the exact link, say, hey, can you leave us a review real quick? It'll take them 5 minutes, maybe even entice them with a Starbucks gift card. Next time you're in the office, we'll give you a $5 Starbucks card, can you just leave us a quick review? It's a great way to build testimonials, build reviews on Facebook. Reactivating past clients through skill marketing. So skill marketing is something that we do called a talent showcase. What we do is we position candidates on a client's website, basically make them look appealing so that if a hiring manager or a prospect were to come to their page, they see all of these potential people that could work for their organization. Armada does a great job at this. They check out our Rockstar Talent, and that always links back to somebody's specific page. From there, they can request an employee. So maybe they don't want to hire Brad or Derek in this example, but they reach out and they say, hey, do you have any candidates that can fill XYZ job? Might not be exactly these opportunities, but it's a good way to funnel people back in and show them that you are actively hiring or actively placing people. Now what? So we started with goals. If we go all the way back to the beginning, we think about the roadmap, right? The roadmap to success. Always think about the destination first. So what are we trying to achieve? What goals are we trying to accomplish? Can we quantify them? Are they realistic? And do we have the opportunity to achieve that goal? Once we know the goal and our team knows the goal, think that's important too, having total team buy-in on that goal. What strategy are we going to use to get people there? What road are we going to use to get to our end destination? And then from there, looking at one of the 50 or so different tactics that we talked about to start to inch our way closer to that goal. So if right now you're doing social media and you're active on Facebook, which of these 2 or 3 tactics can you start to implement? Maybe it's Facebook jobs. Every Monday and Friday you're going to post a job on Facebook through Facebook jobs. Maybe on Twitter you're going to go in and connect with people from your specific area twice a week. Maybe it's setting up personal LinkedIn profiles and every other week to start going in and connecting with 25 people. Start with something that's manageable so that, one, you don't get overwhelmed, your team doesn't get overwhelmed. But once you start to see the success and you see data, you'll understand if you reach those goals. If you reach your goals, that's a good thing. If not, sad puppies.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I had a question on the Facebook. So our company has a corporate Facebook page.
Sure.
So how do you integrate someone posting say a job, we need a PC consultant? So it's okay to put that on our personal Facebook? Because like I don't want to friend people I don't know.
Correct.
So if you're trying to get candidates that you may not know, I mean, how does it work to integrate your personal?
So with Facebook, you can either A, just run it as a company. A lot of the clients that we work with don't use Facebook for recruiting, right? That's more of a LinkedIn thing. I get that. But there's no reason that you can't create a personal Facebook page and connect with candidates or connect with people that walk through and treat it as a professional page too.
Like have a separate page from your
Correct.
personal.
Correct. So what I do at Haley is I have 2 Brad Biley accounts. One is my personal one, talk about going to dinner with my fiance. The
Right.
second one's all marketing specific.
And you're allowed to create 2 accounts?
Of course.
in the same day?
Of course. If you're not comfortable with that personal, sharing, I get that. So let's say you have 100 connections or 100 friends on Facebook. Maybe they're friends, family members. Let's say they can't help you find a job, right? Or they can't help you fill that job order. Okay. Then I would really focus heavily on the Facebook company page. Maybe put some ad spend behind those available jobs. Really look at Facebook jobs. I'm very passionate about the success that we've seen from that. Actually, I have one client, it was the Become an Employer of Choice client from Pennsylvania. In 2 weeks, what they did is they sent me their new starts, okay? So they sent me all their new starts. What I was able to do is go back into Facebook, and I could identify 8 people that were on assignment because of an initial Facebook job posting. Number might sound low, to them it's pretty high. It was a really good conversion. And it's awesome just that we could identify that funnel and that path. So yeah, I would start with the company page. If you want to look into a professional Facebook page, then I think that's okay too. Sure.
So my question is kind of right off of hers. It exactly was, do you create just a whole separate Facebook page for your professional Facebook? For instance,
Yep.
If I had my professional Facebook page, then I would go and look for people I've interviewed, people I've talked to, people that I've got on jobs,
Sure.
and possibly also clients, and connect with them on Facebook.
Sure.
And I guess you send a friend request or whatever.
Yep.
Is that the way that you would do that on a professional page?
Exactly.
But you can make a professional page off of your personal page?
You would create 2 separate ones.
2 separate,
So,
okay, that's
so
fine.
you would create 2 separate ones. And really the reason that I would do that is there's 1.9 billion people using Facebook.
Right.
So I don't want to say all candidates and all clients and organizations are on Facebook, but let's say 90% of them are. So yeah, I really do think it's worthwhile.
Thank
You
you.
don't want your client to see 9 pictures of cats.
Correct.
No.
I do think there is value there. When we talked at the beginning, we talked about how I have a fiance, I play guitar. Having that personal branding too is nice. On my Twitter account, I run everything. So I run a lot of social media, but I also talk about the bills a lot. I talk about what I'm doing a lot. It's just sort of who I am, and that's what you get when you sign up to follow me on Twitter. If you separate yourself on Facebook, personal and professional though, you completely keep that separate and you have that nice defined line of, okay, now I'm in this profile, here's what I'm gonna talk about, here's what I'm gonna do. Over here, Candy Crushing Cats. All right, I have to wrap up. Well, I'll get you after, okay? My name is Brad Byler. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.